Coming up.
Well, I don't know, darling.
The hairs on the back of my neck are standing up.
Well, you've got to feel it, right? You've got to connect with that script.
I'm Charlie.
It was the wetness that really got me.
Is that what a corgi sounds like?
Because there were hundreds and hundreds of entries.
But at the same time, you've got to give it a bit of welly.
I don't know. The advice is so bad.
Literally, it just went... Whang.
And now, enjoy the podcast.
How do you say that?
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 Hello and welcome to today's episode of How Do You Say That? Sponsored by BritishVoiceover.co.uk. It is the show dedicated to anyone who has ever had to read a script out loud in front of a microphone. And here is my co-host, Mark Rice.
Hello.
And his fun fact today is that he really doesn't, this makes you sound so poncy, he doesn't enjoy air travel because it's so uncomfortable and economy.
But it is, isn't it?
Well, I don't know, darling.
Oh, I recently came back from Gran Canaria and 4.5 hours is about as much as I can do now.
Really?
Just to be cramped up like that is not nice. And I have travelled business a couple of times when I haven't been paying for it. It's much, much nicer.
I travelled long haul first class once.
Oh, very
Only
nice.
once. I was going out with somebody who was extremely rich.
Well, my co-host is Sam Boffin, and here's something you may not know about her. When she was doing drama A-level, just a few years ago, she played 3 roles in a row where she was painted green, like the Hulk.
Literally, well, not quite the Hulk. Yes, one of them was the Hulk. No, one of them was not the Hulk. 3 roles in a row. I don't know why I always landed the green role, but I did.
Did you at least get to play Alphaba from Wicked?
That's what I was thinking.
Oh, wouldn't that have been cool? No, it was a witch, actually. The middle one was a witch. The first one was a green fly. Don't even ask. It was a musical. I can't even. I know exactly what it was called, but I'm not going to share it. Anyway, I was a green fly, a singing green fly, and then I was a witch, and then I was Toad in Mr. Toad.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Well, of course, you've just heard her. We also have a special guest with us, and this week it's the fabulous voice actor and voiceover coach, Emily Jardine. Yay. Hi, Emily.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. We have been trying to get you on the show for ages.
Sorry, I'm really sorry. Yeah.
Emily is an award-winning voice artist, actor and voiceover coach. She's represented by an eye-watering 43 agents across 12 countries.
Wow.
And I know, while Emily's performance career began when she was very little, by the age of 26, Emily was also an established voiceover producer, casting director and talent manager, producing multi-million-pound advertising campaigns around the world.
Lots of people know Emily because she is a casting director, of course. Emily won the Inspiration Award at One Voice in 2022 and the following year was nominated alongside you, Sam, as Female Voiceover of the Year at One Voice 2023.
Neither of us won.
No, we didn't.
We can get over that bit. When Emily isn't in the booth, she loves baking, reading and adopting small furries. She's also a complete Queen and Freddie Mercury nerd.
I love Queen.
Yeah,
so, did you see them in concert?
Do you know? No, I didn't because I was way
Too young.
Freddie had gone.
No,
but,
at the point where you fell in love with Freddie, he was gone.
Oh.
My dad played me Bohemian Rhapsody, and he showed me the video. And after I'd got obsessed, he went, "You know, he's dead, right?"
Oh, no.
Never forgiven him.
Talking of awards, Sam, I just want to yell that we have been shortlisted in the Independent Podcast Awards in the Arts and Culture category. I know Arts and Culture, can you even believe it? Yeah. But I'm very proud of that. That's good because there were hundreds and hundreds of entries.
There were. And we booked our tickets today.
We have. We're going to go and see it. It's the 30th of October, which is great. So if you don't hear any more about it on this podcast, it means we didn't win.
No, exactly.
So, Emily, have you got a fun fact for us?
I have, and I think it might be a good one, given that what next week is.
Oh, Halloween, yeah.
I used to be a very heavy goth.
Did you? Did you? Oh, my word. And anyone that's ever met you will be going, What?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I used to wear inch long spikes around my neck.
Wow.
I had metal bone corsets, knee-high PVC boots.
Wow.
And yeah, people used to call me Goth Ariel, like, the mermaid.
Yes. Did you dye your
amazing.
hair? Were you
Yeah.
dark-haired?
I was jet black hair, jet black.
How cool is that?
So do you ever revisit it at Halloween at all?
No, unfortunately, but my friends have never let me forget it. As far as they're concerned, as a child, I was a vampire, so that suits me down to the ground.
I
To be honest.
absolutely love that. And in a way, our Halloween episode next week will be just up your street, I think. But anyway, back to today, and let's have a look at our first script of the show and ask, how do you say that?
Play How Do You Say That?
So this is a little script from a rather dark documentary that I did very recently.
Nice.
As we're getting to that dark and scary time of year.
Indeed we are.
And yes, this is it. I didn't have the visuals
Right,
for
okay.
it. So it was done blind, as it were.
You call it a dark documentary. Is it a dark
dark.
feel to the voiceover as well?
Well, necessarily there were points that were darker than others. But what's interesting about doing a documentary like this is that you do have to, you can't be forever dark and sombre.
No,
there has to be areas of light. So actually, if I looked back at my script, I've probably got, an adjective or a word against every little section.
Interesting.
To give me a prompt as to whether this is, lighter, a warning, uber dark.
There's
or
not
whatever it
very
happens to
much
be.
light in the bit that you've given us, to be fair.
No, it's quite
Not
dark.
an awful lot. Yeah.
No. Well, and that is also the opener. And so that,
Right.
and for a
Yep.
documentary, the opener and the closer are almost two separate bits.
Of course, yes.
They're almost separate from the rest of the documentary because you're kind of setting it up. It's almost like a mini promo.
I'm looking forward to this as a
am I.
prelude to our Halloween episode.
I
Right.
know,
well,
it's almost like this was planned, and it totally wasn't.
I know.
Emily, I'll go first, then you, then Sam, if that's okay.
Yep.
All right, here we go then. A killer can come in many forms, from the visionaries to the mission-oriented, hedonists to the desire for power and control. A trait is often shared between these abhorrent individuals, a trait which strikes fear into our hearts. Their innate ability to blend amongst humanity. From a single glance, you may think nothing of them. You might even trust them, until it is far too late.
Very nice.
I liked that.
Very chilling.
The hairs on the back of my neck are standing up.
Oh, great. But you've got to feel it, right?
Yeah.
You've got to
Yeah,
connect
yeah.
with that script.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where a lot of people fall short, isn't it? If you give a read that doesn't connect, your audience can hear that.
Yes,
Yeah,
I guess so.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because with docs, you're there to support it, really. Your
Yes.
voice is supporting and it's not the star player at
Yeah.
all. And this is very much the case with a doc like this. The star player is not you. But at the same time, you've got to give it a bit of welly.
I don't think there was anything lightweight about what I just
No.
did, to be fair.
No, definitely not. You've got a lovely, lower part of your voice. Mark,
Which I don't get to use that often, actually.
You don't get
to
to do a
lean in.
sexy, chocolate commercials are out now, aren't they?
No,
But-
I know, but Sam's sewn all that up anyway. All the chocolate
Not for the
stuff.
men, I have to say.
Stefan Kornikar's sewn it all up for the men,
Yeah,
let's
he
face
really
it. It's
has.
like, he really has.
That is true.
We love you, Stefan.
we do love you.
Indeed. Right, let's see what Emily can do with it, because you have a fairly light tone to
I
your
do.
voice. Emily,
But
don't
she
you?
can do lots of different things.
Oh, I know,
She's got a
absolutely.
very versatile voice.
No pressure. Okay. A killer can come in many forms, from the visionaries to the mission-oriented, hedonists to the desire for power and control. A trait is often shared between these abhorrent individuals, a trait which strikes fear into our hearts. Their innate ability to blend amongst humanity. From a single glance, you may think nothing of them. You might even trust them. Until it is far too late.
Oh, more goose pimples. Your pausing was tremendous for effect in lots of different sentences. Just from that very first sentence, a killer can come in many forms, and it's like, oh, I see where you're going.
Yes.
I like a full stop that isn't meant to be there.
Yeah, and you use it beautifully.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a really, gosh, what's the word? It had real atmosphere.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a very
atmospheric
read.
And interestingly, for a documentary, they would probably use those unintentional full stop points to change the picture.
Yes. Yeah, the footage would... Because we're not following the footage, essentially. Well,
especially if we're not seeing the footage at this point, which Sam wasn't.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And horrific at the same time.
See, I can't do that. I say this to people all the time. My voice is so light that I can't get away with intimidation. Put me on a tax commercial.
But you brought it in a different way.
Yeah.
When you got to that final line, until it is far too late, it's like, oh, wow, ouch.
Yes. Yeah, I loved the ending in particular. That I thought was fab.
Should we see how Sam did it? It's probably a completely different way now.
Yes, okay. A killer can come in many forms, from the visionaries to the mission-oriented, hedonists to the desire for power and control. A trait is often shared between these abhorrent individuals, a trait which strikes fear into our hearts. Their innate ability to blend amongst humanity. From a single glance, you may think nothing of them. You might even trust them. Until it is far too late.
Oh, Sam, I loved that.
I did. The might even trust them literally almost had me shaking. It's like, wow. Okay, that is not the read I expected you to do, I have to say.
Was it not?
No.
Oh, that's interesting.
I thought you were going to be more chocolatey, and that was why they had booked you, to give you the very sweetness of the low female voiceover with your classic style, with very dark pictures and very dark subject matter. But that's not what you did, and I love that.
It's almost, and I say this to people, to think about what sits in that lower register. And we've got everything from that kind of creepy all the way to sexy and luxury. Yeah. So I think sometimes that little bit of flirt kind of works. And I heard you do it at one point.
Absolutely, I did at one point as well. Yeah.
So I think it was from a single glance or something like that. And I just went, ooh.
That's the line in it, actually, that is the connecting line, because that's the one where you're talking about this killer sort of almost as an abstract idea. They're visionary, mission-oriented. We're not talking about anyone in particular here. We're not talking about hedonists, and this is a trait that's often shared, blah, 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 blah. But the bit that chills people is that if you met them, would you know them?
Yep.
Would you even like them, maybe? So that's the bit that really connects this abstract killer with the real person.
Well, it's worthwhile remembering that these are real scripts that we've been working on, but we've changed names and some details to avoid those pesky copyright issues.
How do you say that?
So, Emily, can you tell us more about the script that you've brought in? It's very different. We're going from something very dark to something not very dark.
So this was a job I did about 3 years ago for a pet food company, and they created a load of animations of different animals talking about their problems. And the idea was that this food could be tailored to your animal, whatever their problem may be.
So, I mean, in effect, I guess Charlie the Corgi puppy could have any kind of voice.
He could have any kind of voice, and who's to say that he's a little boy? So,
Indeed,
yes,
absolutely.
I did think that actually with Charlie. You could definitely make Charlie female. I thought at first maybe you could cast against type. Maybe you could give. And then I thought, well, actually, you talk about puppies and and then I threw that out of the window. I thought maybe.
Were you thinking cast against type as in, I'm Charlie, a corgi?
Yeah, you could.
That's not what a corgi sounds like.
If you had an animation, you might want to do that.
Possibly
it's a
so.
bit like, you know what I mean? It could be quite funny. But then I thought, no, this is meant to be, it's meant to be a believable corgi
True,
puppy.
true.
It's not,
I mean, there's the whole wildcard section. We can make Charlie whoever we want there if you want.
Yes, that is true. That is true.
Sam's going to go first on this one. I wonder what you're going to find with Charlie the corgi.
Yeah, me too.
Dear Henry, I'm Charlie, a corgi puppy who's quite new to the whole dry food feeding thing. I only like to eat the best of the best, and I'm worried that my parents aren't feeding me the right food. Call me high maintenance, but I want a food that ticks all the boxes. Tasty, keeps my coat lovely and shiny, my parcels firm, and helps me develop as I grow into a bigger dog. Does such a food exist, or are my expectations simply too high? Best wishes, Charlie. Kiss.
I could definitely see Charlie there.
Little shy Charlie.
Little tail was wagging.
Yeah. Can you help me?
I got shy as well from that, Emily. I thought that was quite nice because puppies probably would be a little bit shy, wouldn't they?
They might well be, yeah. And I liked the higher part that you use because, of course, we are talking about a puppy. That
Baby, yes, absolutely. Yeah. It had a really nice pace to it as well because this is not something that is slow. It's not, I mean, if this is a commercial, did it have to fit in a certain amount of time, Emily?
Yes, it was a commercial. I think, is it infomercial that's a little bit longer, goes on a bit? Yeah, so I think it was approximately 90 seconons once you'd added in all the animations and stuff.
Okay.
Cool.
So
you didn't have to worry too much about time.
No, it was very, they were quite carefree about it and they just said, do whatever takes you in the moment.
As a regular listener, you'll know that Sam loves scripts like that and hates 30-second
I
scripts.
do, and I was trying so hard to get that into a 30 that I'm now unbelievably disappointed.
I think you might have actually got it within that time.
You might well have done. Well, congrats.
Yes, absolutely. Round of applause.
The one time I didn't need to do it. There it is.
Which just goes to prove you can do it even when you're not trying.
So now it's you. I really want to
I'll
hear
have
your
a go.
Charlie now, mate.
Yes, okay. Charlie the corgi puppy. Dear Henry, I'm Charlie, a corgi puppy who's quite new to the whole dry food feeding thing. I only like to eat the best of the best, and I'm worried that my parents aren't feeding me the right food. Call me high maintenance, but I want a food that ticks all the boxes. Tasty, keeps my coat lovely and shiny. My parcels firm and helps me develop as I grow into a bigger dog. Does such a food exist, or are my expectations simply too high? Best wishes, Charlie. Kiss.
Oh, that was so
I
cute.
give him a cuddle.
Yeah.
I think Charlie probably needs a cuddle.
He does, but he might, he might poo on me, so I probably won't give him a cuddle.
But I also loved the fact you took a bit of time to do the sort of snuffly bits, which were really cute, actually. Really cute.
I think with that kind of thing, it's really obvious where the I was going to say humanization, but not humanization. The personification of the animal is probably important.
Now we get to hear Emily.
Yes, now we get to hear how it's properly done.
No, it's how it was done at the time. That was great, guys.
Dear Henry, I'm Charlie, a corgi puppy who is quite new to the whole dry food feeding thing. I only like to eat the best of the best, and I'm worried that my parents aren't feeding me the right food. Call me high maintenance, but I want a food that ticks all the boxes. Tasty, keeps my coat lovely and shiny, my parcels firm, and helps me develop as I grow into a bigger dog. Does such a food exist, or are my expectations too high? Best wishes, Charlie. Kiss.
Charlie's needy. Charlie was quite needy there, I thought. It's like Charlie was a bit of a know-it-all almost.
Yeah, well, I thought that, she's a corgi, so she might,
royalty,
maybe
yes, yes. The higher register in your voice that you were talking about really, really suits that. And it took it to a younger puppy, I think. But a younger, definite know-it-all puppy.
Oh yeah. I think in the picture they sent me, she actually had some kind of a bow on her head.
Yes, I can imagine.
Nice.
Yeah.
Here's the part of the show that can be completely off the wall, like you've just stepped out of an improv class. The wild card section. Let's see if we can complete these scripts in a different way, shall we?
So, Emily, can you pick one of the scripts and give Mark a brand new motivation?
Okay, I want to go with script 1. Right. And again, I totally hadn't planned this as Halloween, but I was wondering if you could do it as Igor. The hunchbacked assistant.
Okay.
Totally in his wheelhouse.
Complete with the heavy breathing and the lisp.
And indeed. And that, yeah, okay. That's quite a fun one. I quite like that. Igor. Yes, he's like, Master.
I come, Master, to help you with a killer. He can come in many forms, from the Visionaries to the mission-oriented Hedonists, to the desire for power and control. Traits are often shared between these abhorrent individuals. A trait which strikes fear into our heart. Their innate ability to blend amongst humanity from a single glance. You may think nothing of them. You might even trust them until it is far too late.
It was the wetness that really got me.
That was absolutely brilliant. I was hoping you'd put some little gleeful points in there because, of course, he is Igor and he loves his master and his their freaky ways. But I did hear that towards the end a little bit. So
I wondered if he enjoyed abhorrent individuals slightly too much.
Did. Yeah.
Because he understands he is one.
I quite like him though. I think he's cute. I know he's a hunchback.
To be fair, yes, the Igor character can be in a number of different ways.
True. Were you moving a lot?
Oh, I was, and I had my hand right up by my shoulder in a kind of hook form to give you the hunchback there as well.
Obviously. Well, I'm going to give Emily something completely different.
Nice.
So, Emily, I want you to be a shoe shop assistant.
A shoe shop assistant.
A shoe shop assistant, and I want you to be showing a variety of shoes to a customer. And by the end, you know you've given them the best pair of shoes ever.
Okay. I like it.
Which script?
Well, could do it with either, but I think if I was being kind, I'd give you number 1, so I'm going to give you number 1.
Thank you.
Okay, shoe shop sales.
Shoe shop assistant who eventually gets the right shoes.
Sale. A killer can come in many forms, from the Visionaries to the mission-oriented. Hedonists to the desire for power and control. A trait is often shared between these abhorrent individuals. A trait which strikes fear into our hearts. Their innate ability to blend amongst humanity. From a single glance, you may think nothing of them. You might even trust them. Should we go to the till? Until it is far too late.
The joy of actually having closed that sale was obvious. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I love
that. Because about halfway through, strikes fear into our hearts. It was like, I haven't got this sale yet. Haven't quite convinced them yet.
I like the perkiness of your...
absolutely. And it was perky, and you went hugely perky right in that very first line. Hello, exactly.
Well, I used to work in, when I was a teen, I used to work in retail, and I worked in Ernest Jones, and so I thought the best way to go about it was to be like, hi. It's almost a hint of desperation.
Yes,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it worked.
It did work.
Thanks, Ernest Jones.
It worked really well. I'm going to suggest one for Sam now, but I'm going to go for the other script. I'm going to go for Charlie the Corgi puppy. And from the idea that we had earlier on, that Charlie the Corgi puppy is not a cute, tiny little puppy, but Charlie the Corgi puppy is a gruff, quite angry, darker, deeper voice than you would expect from a puppy who is a bit out of control.
I believe in you, Sam.
Thank you. Yes. Dear Henry, I'm Charlie, now a corgi puppy who's quite new to the whole dry food feeding thing, and I only like to eat the best of the best, mate, and I am worried, very, very worried that my parents aren't feeding me the right food. I mean, call me high maintenance, but I want a food that ticks all them boxes. Oh, tasty. Oh, keeping my coat lovely and shiny. My, parcels firm and helps me develop as I grow into a bigger dog. Does such a food exist, or are my expectations simply too high? Best wishes. Jolly. Kiss.
That was a big dog, and that was a big personality dog as well. I love that.
Bloody
it
big
completely changes the meaning of the whole thing.
It's almost like poor Henry would be running a mile away from...
I'm a bit worried about Charlie's parents, to be fair.
Yeah. Great job, Sam.
That was brilliant. And when I said darker and bigger and deeper, absolutely, the visualization of the corgi was like a Hulk corgi.
Yeah, it was a Hulk corgi, like a corgi on steroids.
Yes.
It was a big corgi. So, on that note, just to remind you, the scripts are in the show notes. So why not have a go for fun in the comfort of your own booth?
Yes, I wonder what Charlie you could create. Well, please
hear these.
Yeah, absolutely. Please keep sending in or sharing your ideas for wildcards. We would love to hear from you. Either DM us on Instagram at HDYST podcast is the address, or email us at podcast@britishvoiceover.co.uk.
Indeed, yes. And now it's question time. So our question this week, probably for Emily actually, but anyway, mainly, is all about auditions. So how many takes is the optimum number when you're sending in an audition?
The general consensus was 3, but I'm going to say 2. And the reason being, we've heard all we need to hear by the second take. And actually, if that second take isn't drastically different from the first, I've got all I need from the first take. So I would say choose one take that you are absolutely certain of, but if you really think you want to show a little bit more, or you think there's something else that the client might want to hear, do a second. But by the third, we are going to be bored.
Well, exactly.
We're just going to get a bit frustrated with you.
Obviously, if you're sent sides, then you do all the sides that you are asked to do for your character. But often, you might be sent the whole script.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, I mean, I know what my answer would be, but what would you say? How much of a script? You've got a 2.5 minute there.
I mean, I never ever give the whole script because clients, much as most of them are very honest, there is always going to be that 1% that are not, and you will find yourself online. So always, I would say 30 seconds to a minute if it's a 2.5 minuter. If it's a commercial, do the first couple of sentences and leave the rest. Essentially, you don't want to give them content that they can manipulate, so leave out a key line. The jury's out on whether you should change the brand.
You see, I don't change, but I do leave a line out.
Yeah.
And actually, I will record the line, but I won't put it in the edit. So then I can choose which line I take out.
Yeah, exactly.
You can quite quickly see on a script which the important bits are of it.
Yeah, you can.
And you can sort of tell that the client probably wants to hear you say their name.
Yes.
Because they want to hear how you say it.
Absolutely.
And sometimes the end of a script is a good place, is a good bit to keep in. So if you only do the first 20 or 30 seconds, you might be missing a trick if you don't kind of scan forward and do parts. I've done parts of a script before.
Yeah.
But you also know if they got 60 auditions, they don't want to listen to 60 full minutes worth. And then if people are doing 2 or 3 takes, they don't want to listen to 180 minutes of that,
exactly.
do they?
And I did one of my castings recently. We had 130 applicants.
Wow.
And some of them did 3 to 5 takes.
Wow.
And given that we'd given them quite a meaty script because it was quite a challenging job. And so I wanted to hear that they could do, because it was split into segments, I wanted to hear that they could do each of the different styles we needed. And so to sit there through literally sometimes 10 to 12 minutes of an audition. We'd forgotten what it was like by the third, fifth, whatever take it was.
Does that mean it was much better to be in the first 10 people you listened to or the last 10 people you listened to?
So this depends on who you talk to. And some of the casting directors I know will use that tactic. I personally will listen to everyone because
you might miss out on a golden.
True, absolutely. Yeah,
exactly. However, I will be very brutal with my decisions and I create a yes, no and a maybe folder. If I don't like it, straight in the no. If it's an immediate yes, it's in the yes. If I'm not sure, it'll go in the maybe. And then when I'm done with everyone, I'll go through the maybe and I will go no, yes.
Yeah.
Do you find that it is only 20% of your maybes that go to the yes pile?
Yeah, generally speaking, because otherwise I don't really want to present more than 5 to 10 applicants to my client because then it makes me look like I'm not doing my job.
And one final thing about auditions, please, Emily, from your perspective. To slate or not to slate?
To not to slate.
I
to
never
not.
slate, unless I'm asked.
So why did it become so popular?
I don't know. The advice is so bad because put it into the context of a casting director. We know that we've got to listen to loads and loads of people. We know we've got to collate all of that and send it off to a client. That's going to take me a day. What I don't have time to do is to go into whatever door I'm using at the time and snip off your slate because I don't want my client to necessarily
know who I am.
Know who you are. Not because it's a secret, but because, we want them to keep coming back to us because we're going to handle everything from start to finish. And also, it's just
waste time, doesn't it?
It's a waste of time.
They don't need to know those bits. They're just wanting to hear that voice.
Yeah.
They want to hear a collection of voices that might work. There's also the collection of voices that might work together. That's another thing.
Yeah.
Of course, sometimes you can put forward if you've got 3 people. If you've got a multicast of something, then one voice might work brilliantly with one set of people and not so brilliantly with another. And sometimes it can be,
Yeah, exactly.
It is superb advice. Superb advice. Emily, thank you so much for joining us on the show. It has been brilliant. Your characterisation is just wonderful as well. Just a reminder that all of Emily's details can be found in the show notes.
We'll also be putting up both of today's scripts in the show notes so that you can have a read yourself. And if you want to send them to us, we would love to hear them. We really would love to hear them. And it's podcast@britishvoiceover.co.uk.
And if you enjoy listening, we'd love you to write a review on Apple Podcasts, please, if you've got 5 minutes to do such a thing.
Yes, we would. Yes. And that is it for this week. Thank you again to the lovely Emily Jardine. And we will be back next week with more scripts and another voiceover guest when we'll be asking, how do you say that?
How do you say that?